Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Conspiracy Farm, where we don't start the conspiracies, we just add the water. And now, your host of the most state-of-the-art, most informed podcast on the interweb, I present to you Pat Miletich and Jeffrey Wilson. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for war?
Jeffrey, you started yet?
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are locked and loaded with another installment of the Conspiracy Farm. I am, as always, your ever-faithful co-host, Mr. Jeffrey Wilson, riding shotgun with my homeboy, Mr. Pat Miletich. How are you doing, champ?
I am doing great, buddy. Doing great. We are on a roll tonight, bud.
We are, man. We you know, as everyone knows, we've been away for a hot minute. I got messages as far away from freaking Africa, Indonesia, Brazil, asking where the hell we are, Germany, asking where the hell we are, and we are back, man. We're back, guns a-blazing. We just knocked out a great episode with Mr. James Corbett of the Corbett Report, and now our resident health keeper, Mr. Goodbody himself, who is going to keep us accountable for all of our, hopefully, sticking to our New Year's resolutions and just our general health. It just, conversations on keeping our body right, man, because if the temple is wrong, then all kinds of stuff's going to happen. Mr. Tim James, CEO of Chemical Free Bodies, with us. How are you doing tonight, sir?
Fantastic, brother. Fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for helping us stay educated on keeping ourselves healthy. What's going on, man? I mean, obviously, we're, what couple months into the new year. How are you doing, Pat? How are you doing with your diet? And, help keep us accountable, Mr. James. What's going on with you?
Yeah, go ahead, Pat. Let's hear it.
Well, I would say this. I would say that I am constantly on the road. I'm doing my best to just keep up. I had meetings yesterday in New York City. Look, New York City gives me anxiety, okay? I pounded. Luckily, the guys that I stayed with, my Croatian cousins, the Skara brothers, yeah, Tom and Nick out there they live in Connecticut near the New York border. Woke up in the morning after I flew in. I flew in at midnight. What was it? Gosh. What is it? Wednesday today, right? I flew out Monday, landed midnight, basically Tuesday morning, and woke up this morning. Dude, I'm so mixed up. That tells you what's going on with me.
The days are just blending together.
Had an entire blender full of pineapple and spinach and everything else. They juiced for me. They were drinking it. Those guys are pretty health-minded. And it was his wife that set it all up, actually. And then she left for work. But anyway, so, I'm trying to keep up on stuff. There's just no way to, make excuses. You got to find a way to eat the right stuff, and you end up in places for meetings where they don't serve great food a lot of times, and you gotta figure it out, man. You gotta do your best.
What are your thoughts on that, Tim? Where people, I guess it almost comes down to like a prepared meal kind of thing. Like people are so busy and getting into those kind of situations like Pat, an all-day kind of symposium or conference, and everyone's seeing those kind of buffet foods that they roll out, and it's just like not necessarily ideal. Is it come down to just the proactive action of, preparing meals, etc.?
Well, I've thought about this quite a bit, and I think what it really boils down to is the reason why most people they're not eating as healthy as they could. Number one, they just really don't know what healthy really is. That's where I was. I thought, being an athlete and reading some books and stuff and following some people that I knew what I was doing. And once I really learned up on this stuff, when my friend got cancer and went to that institute, I didn't know shit. I didn't know anything about health, and I was like, got my whole world flipped upside down. So the problem today is it's deeper, because when you have 85% of the nutrients farmed out of the soil on average, you're deficient. And when 95% of us are not drinking water, we're dehydrated and our brain doesn't work. And we're polluted with all these chemicals and heavy metals and radiation raining down on us and all this stuff and pesticides and all this things. So what ends up happening is we only have we have very little energy. Most people are literally running around on 15% fuel, and that's barely enough to wake up, take care of the kids, kiss your wife goodbye, kiss the husband goodbye, whatever, go to work, fight your way through traffic, go to a job that 74% of us don't like. We hate our jobs, and that's sad. They don't like where they're working. Fight traffic back again, come home, mow the lawn, whatever, and you're tired. I mean, you think you're going to learn how to make some foods that night? It's just like people they don't even know what they're going to have for dinner. It's like on the way home, it's like, what are we going to eat? I don't know. What do you want to get? I don't know. Pizza. That's it. That's the planning. And the reason why is because people have no freaking energy, right? So when I first got into this, what I would do is I was trying to get everybody to change their diet because I knew that was the answer, but it was too hard for people. It was too difficult because they didn't have the energy to change anything. They didn't have the energy to, even they weren't going to the gym, or they're definitely not going to be changing their food up. They don't have energy or any brain power to change. So what we've done is we've learned that the first thing to do is to drink water, start hydrating those cells, hydrating your brain, clean out the pollution, and put some nutrients in, and then voila, you now have energy and the desire to want to start working out and to want to start making these better food choices, and then maybe have to take the time to find some better meals and stuff. So that's usually I think the best way to start.
For me personally, I mean, I don't know. It's been, since we last talked, I've obviously kind of been making slow and steady modifications. Obviously, you can't do it 100% all the time, but maybe the last month, I've cut out the bread, the complex carbohydrates, and really have gone more just straight kind of green salads, meats, a lot of water. And it's just, I think you did say it. Like, even just changing your water consumption within 24, 48 hours, you see the difference. And I mean, within a month, like it's just crazy the differences I see. Not that I had like eczema or any huge rashes, but just any kind of like skin dry, just different stuff I could just see was clearing up. I'm sorry to be graphic, but just shitting better, sleeping better. My energy was different. And even coinciding with some of the stuff that you still had sent me. And it just, honestly, what really for me was I was mindful about keeping my gut right, because for me, that was like kind of the telltale sign, throwing a lot of warning signs that just different words were off. So, for me, it's been pretty helpful being mindful about, it sucks sometimes because I work in an industry that's, you got not the best food around, but you got to be proactive and make choices.
Yeah. And that's where then when you get some new patterns established, like, maybe you can find a restaurant or a store around you that has some healthier choices, and then that can be a new pattern for you. And you can start stopping by there and grabbing X instead of Y, right? And maybe you start bringing some foods with you. A lot of people are out and about, salespeople, busy on the road, whatever. They don't have time really to plan their meals. But if you can do a little bit of planning and get some, just a few things down, like, I took a guy out to lunch one time. It was in a business meeting. This is a long time ago, before I was actually in the health industry. I was doing financial planning, but I was into this stuff, about a year into it. And I said, hey, let me show you how easy it is to eat on the fly. And we just pulled into like a Whole Foods. And I said, you like avocados? And he's like, yeah. And I said, okay, grab that avocado. And then we went over and got some, a bag of Sprouts. And then we got an almond-based cream cheese. And that was it. And then we went over and sat down, and we got some plates, and we opened up our avocados, and we had the Sprouts, and we put the almond-based cream cheese with it, and we ate just that. And it was so simple. And it was like a meteor came out of space and hit him in the forehead. He's like, I can't believe that. I haven't ate like that I can't even think. It's like I was a kid when I used to grab an apple and eat. He's like, eating's like really easy. It's like, he goes, why was I making it so complicated?
Right. Well, so much of America is used to opening a box of macaroni and cheese, dumping it in a pot of water, boiling it, adding this powdered chemical cheese, stirring it up, and feeding it to their kids, right? So the work of making an actual salad, of cutting up tomatoes, celery, cucumbers, and piecing up the lettuce is difficult for them.
Well, I mean, and honestly, this could, I mean, we're not going to go political except for kind of what I'm about to say. This is kind of what we talk about how people get their news and information. They oftentimes don't have the time or the inclination, so they go to certain 30-minute sites and then say, okay, I'm informed on news. And it's very similar with food. A lot of times people don't have the time or the inclination or necessarily the discipline, so they go satiate on make whatever or whatever it is, Happy Meals,
right,
and then they're
right.
satiated, but there's no nutrients. There's no real value in the food.
And I would just say this. I would say this as number one, and by all means, Tim, jump in and tell me to shut up if I'm wrong. But the one thing that I've learned out of everything, training with fighters, training with ultra runners, training with a lot of different great athletes over the years, is that the people that truly care about their bodies, their fitness, and their nutrients coming out of their food are the ones that spend Sunday doing food prep. They have all their Tupperware organized. They prepare all of their food, whether they're vegan or not, and they prepare all their food and put it in meal-sized containers, and it's all set for every meal throughout the week until the next Sunday. And that's, to me, literally the only way to do it.
Yeah, and what you said there is the basics of success in almost any venture, which is you have to have a system, a predictable system that you can follow. So you have to, like when I go coach people, I take them on shopping trips. And then one of the other shopping trips is we go to like the container store. We get them all their containers so that they have enough so that it's easy for them to put their stuff together very quickly and make lunch so they can take it with them to work, so they don't have to, eat something that's, unhealthy at some fast food joint.
And how cool does a refrigerator look when all the members of the family have all their food stacked in perfect containers, organized in the refrigerator for every meal throughout the week? It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty fun looking. Yeah, it's awesome.
But I mean, therein lies, really the discipline to do that. At the end of the day, when you're tired and you just don't have, I mean, isn't that kind of the crucial element to all of this? Like,
absolutely, because
we're all going to have motivation. Motivation isn't always going to be there, so discipline's really going to have to take over.
Right. So, Jeff, I would tell you this, and this is how simple things had to be broken down for me when I was competing as an athlete. When I was fighting as an athlete, is that I would boil 4 chickens at one time and get it done, then rip all the meat off the carcasses, stuff it in Tupperware, put it in the refrigerator. Same thing with broccoli. I'd steam a pile of broccoli, steam a bunch of brown rice, and steam some other vegetables, do whatever I had to do. And then that's what I lived on the entire week. That's all I would do. And it was very basic for me because I didn't have a whole lot of money. Chickens are cheap. I can buy whole chickens and do it. And Tim is going to obviously say, look, eating chicken's not healthy for you. But it's what I was doing. And also, I would boil, 48 to 60 some eggs at one time and peel them all and put them in giant Tupperware containers. And that's how I lived. And it did work. It did work. And I was very busy. I was very tired. I trained my ass off, 2 to 3 training sessions a day, and that's how I had to get by.
Well, and not to minimize that dedication, but that was a means to an end of becoming like a champion, a fighter, et cetera, et cetera. That was a part of a protocol, as a part of maintaining weight, et cetera. I think, I don't know if it's apples and oranges necessarily, but this is like maintaining daily healthy habits. That's just to be healthy, as opposed to like, I need to cut weight or I need to be a certain weight. The dedication to do this on an everyday level, I think people obviously struggle with.
Yeah,
and there's a reason. There's a reason for military precision, right?
And for the people listening, they need to know, Pat, that I used to hunt and fish and kill everything, and I ate more meat and chicken than anybody. So for those of you that are listening that are new to this podcast, because I am plant-based now, but it wasn't like that was my way my whole life. I grew up on the standard American diet in a cattle farm. So, we raised our own cattle. We had geese and chickens and ducks and pheasants and, all this stuff all over the place. And we were killing everything and eating meat. But, I found myself at age 37 with gut issues, skin issues, 38 pounds overweight, a double chin. I had an organ removed. And it was when my friend Charles got cancer that we went to the Hippocrates Health Institute in Florida, learned about cleansing and detoxing, that all this stuff turned around for me. And they taught a plant-based lifestyle. And, you know, one of the gripping things about meat, because I don't get into a debate about it anymore, because, again, we focus on cleansing and detoxing and letting people run the course to health that way, not focusing on the food so much up front, is that, you know, once you cleanse yourself and you start putting these nutrients in, your taste buds change and everything changes. And I actually read a study where it was breastfeeding women that were plant-based versus breastfeeding women that were eating meat. The breastfeeding women that were plant-based had only 1% of the chemicals in the breast milk of the women that were eating
Wow.
meat.
Yeah, that's big. That's big. And
Big deal.
you know, that's the thing. It's easy, you know, Tim, and I apologize for cutting you off, but it's easy to go to say for instance, a Mexican restaurant and say, I want corn tortillas, not flour, because flour has the gluten in it. Get corn tortillas and order rice, beans, and guacamole, and put that in the corn tortillas and eat it. And you know, as long as they're not cooking their refried beans with bacon.
Well, I mean,
okay.
odds are the corn tortilla is GMO corn based. I would only assume.
I get it. I get it.
It's
But
just tough nowadays.
most people aren't allergic, at least, to the corn. Right.
It's scary. So anyway, I just want to get that across so people don't think I'm some, you know, hippy dippy person. It's just like,
Well, no, you've been on enough times.
No, you were a guy that went out hunting and killed stuff and ate it, and you've turned to the vegan lifestyle, and you know what? It's not easy to do unless you. I would say this: if it becomes a priority, that's what you'll do in life.
or if you get a death sentence hung around your neck, you know, then you might want to change.
Right. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
You know,
I mean,
I did
yeah.
it for my friend. I don't know if I could have done it on my own because I thought just eating vegetarian was crazy. You know, when I got there, I didn't know there was no meat. I was pretty scared. But after going through that detox on day 5, I felt like I was 20 years younger. And I'm like, oh my God, this stuff works. I don't care what anybody tells me. Nobody can take away that feeling and how energetic and how youthful I felt. And now here I am going on my 8th year. I'm 44 years old and I feel like I'm 20.
Yeah.
Tonight I'm going to go coach my son's basketball team. We only have 9 players and we run scrimmages, and I dress down and I run with them. And I keep up no problem. In fact, I'm probably in better shape than half the kids.
That's awesome. No, that's awesome.
Dunking on them.
You know,
Yeah, no dunking. My hops aren't as good as they used to be, but I can run with them and I can play with my kids, and it's great because a lot of the other dads are sitting on the sidelines, and you know, if they come out and helped out and wanted to play, they might run for, you know, a few plays and they're done. They got to go sit back down.
Dude, you know,
what's beautiful is that. Go ahead, Jeff.
No, I think I might have remarked to this on our last broadcast, or maybe I didn't, but it's absolutely insane when I walk through a grocery store and I'm just going to say what it is, just people who clearly aren't as educated on food, and you see the shit that is just piled to the rim of their cart, and you're like, wow, that's a real portion of our healthcare discussion right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, and healthcare along with mental healthcare, which we're dealing with now with the crisis in America of, you know, what's been going on. So, you know, 10 years ago and earlier, fighters were coming from Europe, South America, from Brazil, places like that, Asia, and training with my team. And they would come back to the gym after they would go grocery shopping because they rented a one-room studio with a stove in it. And there's 3 of them from Sao Paulo, Brazil, or you know, wherever they came from in the United States. It was a big building, a big apartment complex across from my gym. And these European guys especially would say, we went grocery shopping, and your grocery stores are filled with so much garbage. It's rows and rows, aisles and aisles of garbage. And these are guys that came from Europe, where you would go to the vegetable and fruit stand to buy that. Then you would go to the meat market to buy your meat.
Yeah.
And go to the baker to get your bread. And none of that's GMO. None of the bread is GMO grains.
I mean, so I'm saying it's in the statistics, man. It's literally in the statistics of how it teases out American society versus like maybe Mediterranean or Eastern or even Japanese or just certain more whatever the word is, what's agrarian or whatever, more agriculturally based society. It's right there. Like, and I go back when I see, and I travel, like it's just insane to see how the choices people make in groceries. Grocery stores.
It's crazy. I went down to Mazatlan for a week and a half or so, and my friends were like, we need to go to the grocery store. I said, well, we'll go to Walmart. I'm like, why don't we go to a local health food store and find some stands? I found a coconut stand right down the road, 5 minutes, and I could get coconuts for like $3, drink the water, eat the meat. I went to Walmart with them, and I was shocked. They had chemical-produced produce with the PLU stickers on it. And most of the produce was from America. And then up here in Oregon, and most of the produce is from Mexico. I'm thinking, what in the hell is going wrong here? Why are we shipping shit down there and they're shipping it up here? It's like so insane to me. What's going on? Yeah. And then I have clients, to talk about Pat's point, that they have a lot of health issues, right? And we start working with them, and then they go over to Europe and they say, Tim, I ate everything and I felt even better. And it wasn't even the healthy stuff, but it wasn't processed. It was fresh.
Well, right? they've set up legal.
Then they come back here and they try eating it and they're screwed again. They get bloated and gassed and.
Well, they've set up regulations in Europe for GMO foods. I mean, there's a lot of that stuff's banned, even in Russia. I mean, it's even the study about Japanese women who lived in Japan and then came over here, and then the increase in breast cancer just based off of their diet.
It's killing us. I mean, there's just no more beating around the bush about this stuff. The food that's processed and chemicalized and irradiated and pasteurized is genetically modified. It's killing us. I mean, whether it's by design or whatever. I mean, it's bottom line is I stopped putting that crap in my mouth.
Well, almost going back to Pat's point, unless you're literally growing it all, welling your own water. I mean, all of it, like you said, the soil's contaminated, the water's contaminated, the air's contaminated, and the seeds are GM. It's just like, what do you do to mitigate? I guess you got to eat what you can and then cleanse, right? I mean, use some of your products
explain the process, Tim, please. To why you're, and number one, you're dedicated to helping veterans who have dealt with, depleted uranium and all the other toxins they've dealt with on the battlefield over in the Middle East, and explain the process of why your products are so much better than everyone else's. How it detoxes the body, why the detox process should be ongoing, because we're constantly being pounded with chemicals, stress, anxiety, everything else. It should be an ongoing process, right?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I'm actually going to a meeting here at the VA hospital. I've got a booth up there, and we're going to be hopefully talking. And their speakers are flying in to talk about these toxic chemicals and Agent Orange exposure. And the title was like, it's not just Agent Orange, toxin, dioxin exposure, town hall meeting for veterans, And the veterans have just gotten a bad deal. I mean, all the anthrax shots, and they're over there in Afghanistan and Iraq, and there's depleted uranium on the tank rounds, and that shit's getting blown up, and it's in the smoke, in the air, and they're breathing those microscopic particles. Those kids over there are growing up. All those kids in those areas are getting thyroid cancer because of all that depleted uranium poisoning. It's bad, in all these places they're burning tires and trash, and they're breathing all that stuff in. Well, it's like the veterans come back and they're screwed, and they're not really getting taken care of. So anyway, so yes, I am very passionate about helping our veterans. I mean, my God, they put their life on the line for this country. Whether the cause or the reason why we're over there was right or not, they went over there in good intentions to do what was right. So I applaud. Don't have
to respect the war, but you have to respect the warrior.
Yeah, you got it. These guys are
right.
I love them. I mean, shit. Think about it. I mean, they're literally protecting us. I mean, it's a big deal, right? So, what I realized is that cleansing needs to happen on a daily basis, because we're always getting polluted. Nobody's going to eat perfect. I mean, the handful of people that I know, and even in my circle, very few of them are like growing all their own food, and and we'll go to some of the restaurants where I'm like, hey, this is a pretty good restaurant, and they won't even touch it. And I'm picky, right? So the percentage of people doing that, not going to happen. So what we did, Pat, is we set up a process, a system to get this crap out of our bodies, because the pollution in our bodies is literally killing us, and it's coming in every day when we breathe, the clothing we're wearing, the water we're drinking, the foods we're eating, the personal care products like deodorants and shampoos and laundry detergents and paint off-gassing in the house, all this stuff. You can't see it, and that's the problem. It microscopically accumulates in the body, the no-see-ums, you can't see it, but over time, eventually, it's just going to hit you, and all of a sudden, you got a tumor, or you've got arthritis, or you're gaining weight, and you can't get the weight off, or whatever the reason is. People need to know it's not your fault. I mean, this is it's hidden. So what we do is we get people to focus on drinking adequate amounts of water, number one, purified, hopefully.
Reverse osmosis.
And double purified, right?
Yeah, I do triple purified water, but if you don't have a lot of money to spend, a couple grand on a good unit like that, then for a triple purification system, then you can go to the local grocery store and pack your water in gallon glass jars to avoid those xenotoxins coming off of the plastics, which are, we're trying to get you purified water. We don't want it to contaminate with more plastic. You can get a gallon of water at a grocery store, single purified, for about 25 to 44 cents a gallon anywhere in the United States. So most of these stores have these things. It's either reverse osmosis, or it's deionization, or distillation.
That is cheap. Reverse osmosis, I hear, is like the best kind of like top of the echelon as far as purified water.
Yeah, there's 3 different types. Any one of them is fine. We do a triple purifier. So I have I have a double pre-filter, and then a reverse osmosis, and then it goes through deionization twice, and then it goes through a UV light to kill microbes, and then it goes through like 14 more stages to do a whole bunch of other stuff. So I want to get into that, but back to the cleansing. So we develop products. What I've identified is there's 3 major areas that we need to clean out our body with. And if we do this, oh my God, your health is going to come back so fast, it's going to make your head spin. But if you don't do this, you're just going to, be a statistic like everybody else, where, 28% of people today have got Alzheimer's, dementia from all this heavy metal poisoning, and cancer's killing half of us, heart disease and diabetes and all this crazy stuff. So the gut is the first thing to cleanse. We have to clean out the gut, the pathway of elimination, because as you start drinking more water and as you start putting good nutrients into your body's going to start dumping and flushing out toxins and chemicals and a bunch of nasty stuff that's built up in your gut. And most people are going to drop about 6 to 12 pounds of impacted fecal material and mucoid plaque when they do our Gut Cleanse Plus product. And that takes about 15 days. You take 3 tablets in the morning and 3 at night. And after 15 days, you've basically cleaned the internal terrain out and went from an acid state to an alkaline state, which is awesome. And then the second thing is the heavy metals, the man-made chemicals, and the radiation. So if people can type into their browser right now on the internet, if they're looking, or they can write this down, if they just type in umbilical cord and chemical, they can go back to 2005 and see all the studies that have been showing up that every time they test the umbilical cord blood of these newborn babies, they're finding well over 250 man-made chemicals in babies and their young mothers, okay? So everybody's freaking polluted. I bet my son's eyes on it that if we went and tested 100 people, 100 people have over 250 man-made chemicals floating around in their bloodstream, in their brain, their connective tissue, and their organs. That's just the world we live in. Our freaking ecosystem is absolutely polluted. Second product is called Critical Cleanse. Actually, Pat, this is kind of a play off of the Croatian sensation. We have the pollution solution, right? So the Critical Cleanse pulls out the heavy metals.
Are you making fun of me now?
No, I'm not making fun, but you guys could laugh when I crack a joke, for God's sake. Let me sit there in space. I'm like, oh my God. So anyway,
you literally have to tell us you're telling a joke when you tell a joke.
Yeah, because
that's the scary part.
I know. I'm sorry. Okay, so I want to talk about this because it's really important. So this formula was originally developed for our military from our formulator, Dr. Scott Treadway. He was talking to a VA doc, and these veterans were coming back, and they were they were freaking dying of depleted uranium poisoning. So Treadway came up with 2 formulas and helped the VA doc to help them, and then we put those 2 formulas into one, and we call it critical cleanse. So heavy metals, man-made chemicals, and radiation. Okay, those things are raining down on us. And people are like, well, radiation's not that bad. Well, if you go study the Tree of Life Institute, they started testing, and this guy grows organic, veganic farming, and they were testing the radiation on the plants they were growing, and he was like, oh my God, it's off the charts. And this was in, it was in Arizona. And so they started building these domes, and that reduced the radiation by 75%. So even though they were growing the plants in these geodesic domes, they were still getting radiated 25% of just being out in nature. So when you're out in nature, you're getting radiation like all the time. So we have to pull that stuff out.
Well, especially now, even more with wireless technology being everywhere, right?
God, it's everywhere. You got the smart meters, smartphones, and Wi-Fi, and all the cell towers, and it's crazy. And so anyway.
But ultimately, I love radiation.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Three Balls, here in a minute.
It's wonderful. Because you can, when you don't even need to turn the light on when you go into the bedroom at night. You can just glow. Now, come on, guys. That was a fun
No, I'm with you.
Get up here.
I laughed.
I did too.
No, so ultimately, I mean, look, give us, we know the simplicity of all of this. Drink a lot more water. Chew your food until it's nearly liquefied before you swallow it. All of those things. But does it really matter if somebody's eating processed food and drinking garbage tap water in Cleveland, Ohio?
Well, absolutely. But again, most people don't even have their foundation in place first. So I like to start with the foundation. That gets them results. That gets them energy. That gets them brain power. And that starts giving them some hope that they can actually turn it around. So they can actually see that goal and say, maybe I can do this. Then they have the energy and the motivation to start making those food changes, cleaning their water up.
And the great thing, and Tim, what you're saying now, is what sparks me to say. When you start feeling results from doing the right thing and leading you down the right path, then you're going to listen to more, and you're ready. Your funnel opens up to accept more information and become healthier.
Absolutely. And you have more brain power. You have more bandwidth because your brain's going to function better.
And
it's crazy.
I think that's a big point,
have
dude.
No clue.
Yeah, I think that's a big point, man.
I was going to say, people don't understand the amount of brain fog that I had from my allergy to gluten, wheat, and soy, right? And from all the studies that I've read, most Americans have some sort of allergy. It manifests in different ways with wheat and soy because they've been modified and they cause inflammation either in the joints, the muscles, whether it's the stomach problems, the breathing problems, the brain problems, because the gut biome is messed up and the chemicals in the body are causing the brain to think differently than it should. So it's those little steps early on that cause people to start thinking clearly and seeing the way and understanding that they've lived their life the wrong way, in pain, tough breathing, whatever it is that was causing their ailment, and they see relief and they see light at the end of the tunnel, and then they go further and it frees them, right?
Yep, it's like pushing a snowball up a hill, and you finally get it to the top, and you get it over the top, and then it starts going, and it picks up momentum, and you can't stop.
Well, and honestly, man, the thing I see consistently with people as far as like diets or New Year's resolutions, they just any level of challenge, they wave the white flag, so they never even get to the point of like, wow, this is actually working. Because I swear, man, that is so absolutely true what Pat said and like what you said. Once you begin to see this stuff work and you actually feel the difference, because some people oftentimes are in such a, hey man, I'm sorry, they're overweight and really in a bad state where it takes some real work to begin to see a difference, and it's tough to get people to have the discipline to stay that course, because
right
habits, like you said, it's all about creating the new habits, and people just have tough. No, it's just habit. Like you said, creating new habits, and people have a tough time sticking with the discipline of creating a new, whether it's food or fitness. But it works, man. It freaking works.
Let me paint a picture for the audience, since this is audio, not video. Come on, Jeffrey, let's go. We got to get on video, though. And you know, in Christmas time, your kids, they get those. They get like a remote control car, right? And you put like 8 AA batteries in it, and you flip it on, and it's like, and it just, you know, takes off really fast. And then what happens? The batteries get low, and before too long, it's just and it can't even move on the carpet, right? Because it's too much resistance. So that's where people are today. You know, when you are completely polluted, which is everybody. Okay, nobody's immune from this stuff because we're all in the same ecosystem. Unless you're breathing some different air and drinking some different water and eating some different food than I am. You are in your food is at 15% fuel. Remember, the soil's been farmed out. You're literally walking around with 15% fuel. Think about that race car and 15% of the batteries left. And then on top of it, you're drinking enough water to be dehydrated. So when you're talking about New Year's resolutions, you know, a lot of the motivational speakers, inspirational people are like, look, you have to have a big, huge why, something that's going to motivate you. So when you get up and you go outside and it's a little cold, you don't say, screw it. You go do it anyway. But the problem is the vehicle that's making that decision mentally and emotionally is that little race car that the battery's almost dead and it can't even move on the carpet. You're screwed.
Yeah, the machine has been compromised by what you're putting in it.
Yeah, we have to start. It's not like go out and exercise and go crazy and change all your food and all that stuff. It's no, we have to clean the body. It's all about cleansing, and it's all about putting nutrients in first, right? Put some new batteries in the gut.
The gut comes first, right?
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely. We cleanse the gut. We get all the heavy metals out of your body, and then the last thing is we attack the harmful organisms, the viruses, the bacteria, the yeast. A lot of people got candida. Mold, fungus, and parasites. And what's cool, this will segue into what Pat wanted to talk about, which is the MMS formula, or chlorine dioxide. We found this about a little over 2 months ago, and I'm so excited because I don't have to come out with formulas for each one of those things. This stuff's like $20, and it wipes it all out. It's pretty.
Yeah, let's talk about your discovery of chlorine dioxide and what it does and how it has healed people with malaria in the middle of the Amazon who were dying. They couldn't carry their friends out of the jungle, but water purification tablets that would purify water, the guy thought, well, last resort, I don't want my friends to die. If it purifies water, maybe it'll purify their body and clean them out, right?
Yeah, it was pure out of desperation. The guy's name was Jim Humble. They were looking for gold, and just like you said, they were pretty much in a jungle in the valley, and these guys, they got malaria and they couldn't walk out. They're going to die. And he, out of desperation, gave him his water purification tablets, which were made out of sodium chloride, and thought, well, let's see if that works. And 4 hours later, those 2 guys walked out on their own 2 feet. And
wow.
That's kind of curious. Okay, looks up malaria and finds out, 1.5 million people a year die of that. It's probably one of the #1 killers of human beings on the planet. And 4 hours, they were fine. What's going on here? So he, like being a decent human being, is like, wow, look, I found this. I have to tell people about it. And he started doing that. But the governments and the pharmaceutical companies started, putting a lot of propaganda and, bad press and all this stuff. But he just kept doing it. And they've evolved and figured it out and found different things. So what actually happened was, and what I believe, is that with sodium chloride, when you mix it with a low-level acid like a lemon juice or lime juice or apple cider vinegar or like a citric acid, or now what they use is a diluted 4% hydrochloric acid, it turns into what's called chlorine dioxide, which is an oxidizer. It's not chlorine, which is a poison that gives off, like, it creates pollution and trimethyls and all this other bad stuff. It's an oxidizer, and people get freaked out about it because they hear the word chlorine.
Right.
But it's different. It's not even the same. And to put people at ease, 60% of the water municipalities in our country today use it to purify our water because it doesn't have any bad after effects or things that are going to run off. So Most people are already drinking this stuff. You drink just a little bit more in water on an hourly basis, and you dose with it, and it wipes out the viruses and the bacteria and the mold and the yeast and the parasites. And that's what malaria is. And malaria is up to 5 different types of parasites, and it wipes it out in a day, 1 day. Parasites are.
So let's talk about all the things that this simple, inexpensive product could heal.
We'd be here for hours, but from what I've learned and I talked to
No,
people,
talk about it, please. So, I want our listeners to understand the level of cleansing that this is.
Well, again, these no-see-ums, these microscopic things, like all these harmful organisms, it pretty much wipes them out, which it pretty much knocks out 95% of all disease. So I bought a book on it. I read the entire book. I'm just finishing up my second book. I've talked to a guy who's been using it. He actually, his son and he was a missionary, and they were going all over the world helping people. And his family got a bacterial infection. A lot of them did. And his son was playing baseball. I think it was down in the Dominican Republic area. And the doctor said, "Hey, look, your son's we're gonna have to cut his leg off." So Dad was like, "Oh my God, his name's Mark." I'm like, I got to figure this out. Well, he still across the chlorine dioxide, dismissed it, and then came back to it, and then used it, and not only saved his son's leg, but healed up all the bacterial infection for his whole family. And then he's like, "Oh my God, I got to tell people about this." So he actually ended up partnering with Jim Humble, and they started a church so they could have the laws of a church to protect them from the laws of the federal governments and from the states, and because churches are immune, right? So they sell the stuff as sacraments now, and they have over, I think, 146 chapters or other people all over the world that are putting this message out. You're not going to hear about it on mainstream media ever, because it works. So
you become a reverend in the chlorine dioxide movement?
No, I have not been ordained, but when I find something that works, I have to tell people about it, and I'm probably going to go through that process at some time. But I'm so busy right now with building my business with my products that I just haven't had time. So what I do is, when I'm coaching people now, I've actually integrated that product into my coaching program and my products, because it works beautifully, because all those harmful organisms, they're gone, they're done. And I don't care what you're eating, it's going to kill them, so we have to be careful. You can't be like, doing like vitamin C's and antioxidants, because it's counterintuitive to that stuff and it kind of neutralizes it. But we just pay attention to that. There's a little bit of a learning curve there. And I'll just give you an example. I've already used it to help heal my dog's bacterial infection on her back. I've used it to clean up mold on an O-ring that I use for a nut milk jar that I thought I was gonna have to get a new one. I had a lady come over as one of my clients who had been sick for 10 days, big, huge executive for a $600 million a year company. She's like, I got to get back to work. I'm like, well, you need to get this stuff, but it's going to take 5 days to get here. Just get over to my house. I'll make you up enough for 3 days. And she got on my products and the chlorine dioxide, and the next day she sent me a text like, wow, this stuff's amazing. And on day 2, she's back to work. Wow. My sister-in-law had pneumonia, chest pains. Chest pains had diminished significantly in 1 day, and then she started coughing up all this junk as it started killing the virus. And then let's see what else. I had another guy that had parasites really, really bad down in Cali, and he got on it.
So you'll have to send the link for people, our listeners, to order chlorine dioxide and how to take it.
That's what I do. Is I send my clients to go get it.
Because I have people in mind who have cancer, who have hepatitis C, people who follow us, people that need direction, people that need healing, and this is very important. And we all know
is one part of that triangle of cleansing. So we have to get the gut clean.
Right.
Out the heavy metals and the chemicals and the radiation, and then we also have to get these harmful organisms out. That pretty much covers most of the gamut.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's all about cleansing.
Beautiful
guys.
stuff.
All about cleansing. You clean that stuff out of your body, you start putting in some green concentrated nutrition on a daily basis, once a day at the beginning, twice a day. And I really believe that concentrated greens is going to be the future of health, because it's all life comes from the sun, and it's captured on the leaf of a plant. So the closer your food source is to the sun, the healthier you're going to be. And people are living in these big cities. They're so far away from these fresh plants. And look at, they're shipping plants from Mexico to America and America to Mexico. I mean, come on, the whole system's jacked.
All right, right. So before we let you go, Tim, let's talk about the Greens 85 and why it's so much better than all the other greens that are being purchased out there.
Well, what I will say is that most of any business that you're going to be in, or any product, there's a bunch of them that are probably not so good, and there's a few at the top that are. So I built this formula with Dr. Treadway based on what I learned at the Hippocrates Health Institute. And what we tried to do was just basically take all the ingredients and basically concentrate them. So I'll give you an example. So wheatgrass is our main ingredient, but we didn't take the blades of a wheatgrass and just grind it up, right? Because we don't have the stomach to digest that fiber naturally, or the cellulose, so that doesn't make sense to me. We took the juice out of the grass and then highly concentrated it to make up for the processing, because even though we do minimal processing and it's air dried or sun dried at under 110 degrees, you're still going to lose nutrients. So we highly concentrate it. And by doing that, you have to spend a lot more money to get those raw materials in that form. And every single ingredient that was able to do that, I got the highest concentrated forms. Moringa leaf juice, broccoli sprout juice extract, acai berry or acai berry, people know that one, dandelion leaf, one of the top 6 Japanese herbs, wheat sprout juice, parsley leaf. I mean, dulse flakes. I actually put some probiotics and enzymes here. We flavored it with a little bit of raspberry and monk fruit, which is a non-sugar sweetener. It's good for people that are diabetic because it helps to regulate blood sugar and help fight food cravings. But all it is, it's a super concentrated juice formula that you can mix up in less than a minute and replace what's missing in the soil. That's why we call it Green 85, because it replaces the 85% of what's missing. It's just really simple. So nothing magic about it, just highly concentrated, greens and nutrition.
It is something I've used myself. I've thrown into my protein shakes, little peanut butter, little greens, little hemp protein powder, and away we go.
Nice.
Yeah,
I recommend you try walnut butter, brother. Try walnut butter.
Or almond butter. I use variations. Well, to toss out any, where can we track you down, my friend, to track down any of these products and your continued success and any of the stuff that you are into, my friend? Where can we find Mr. Tim James and the Chemical Free Body?
So we're at chemicalfreebody.com, and that's our website. And for the people today, if they want to get started, we have all our products on there, but there's a package we put together called the Super Cleanse Pack. You get the Gut Cleanse Plus for the gut and the organs. You get the Critical Cleanse for all the heavy metals and the toxins and the radiation. And you also get a 30-day supply of that greens. That's a nice package for $122, and you can really start off cleansing really well. Also, you don't even have to buy products from us, but every Wednesday today at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, your time, guys, it would be 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I do free group coaching live on Facebook. So all of our customers and clients, they come and they can ask their questions, get their questions answered. Any questions?
So give that. Yeah, you got to give that Facebook address.
Yeah, it's just Chemical Free Body on Facebook.
Okay.
So not only do you get, world-class products that are naturally occurring in nature, no synthetics whatsoever. Even you have to look on the binders and fillers. This is very important. So guys, pull out your, those listening, pull your supplements out today and look at the other ingredients. And if you see something like magnesium stearate or silicon dioxide or dicalcium phosphate or silica, go look up what those things are, and you're going to find out that you can't believe that they're even putting that in there. So our labels actually say on them, no magnesium stearate, no silicon dioxide, blah, 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 because that stuff's not good. The whole industry's kind of screwed up in that way, because they can have a good formula, but then they put this stuff in there that could cause hardening to arteries, gallstones, kidney stones, or other health issues. So we don't do that. So I think it's very important to do that. Now, we do free coaching. We have great products. We also have paid coaching for our private coaching members that want to do that. But I like to have the free one there because, I mean, some people just don't have the money, or, you know, maybe they want to check us out first. That's fine. So I just want to give all this information to people and download it, and all this stuff that I've been geeking out on for the last 8 years, and just help them get to better health quicker, faster, without struggles. And we do all kinds of stuff. We teach them how to deal with friends and family members that might not support them in the beginning when they start making health changes for themselves, and just support them and let them know that, like, look, if you have a dream that you want to be healthy or you want to lose weight, you can frickin' do it. It's not that hard. And so know that it's not really your fault that you're in the situation you are, because all these no-see-ums and all the food's been jacked. Now, after this call, you have this awareness, though. Now you're going to have to make some changes. Otherwise, it kind of is your fault. But up until this point, it's really not been your fault, because I thought I was healthy, but it was the environment and society that was screwing me up. So we have to become aware of that.
Yeah.
And move past that, right?
Well, yeah, we got to get educated, and we definitely got to start making better choices. Ladies and gentlemen, Tim James, he's the CEO of the Chemical Free Body. Wow. This is quite a bit of information here, and just helping to up our health game. So go check him out.
Hey, Jeffrey, one last thing. I did this last time. I'm going to go ahead. We have our Ultimate Gut Cleanse Manual. It's what I used to coach everybody with. It normally retailed for $197. Right. I want to give that away for free to all the listeners. If you guys want a copy of the manual, all you have to do is send us an email to info@chemicalfreebody.com. That's info@chemicalfreebody.com. And just say, I heard about you on the Conspiracy Farm. Send me the manual, and boom, I'll send that out to you for free, no problem.
Well,
you're awesome.
Yeah, Thank definitely. You. Most appreciated, ladies and gentlemen. Trying to impart a little bit of health information, because, you know, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food, man. We only got one health, right?
Yes, that is the key.
All right,
absolutely, guys. And one by one, you change yourself, you heal yourself. Your friends, your family see this. They start seeing the changes. They're going, "What the heck are you doing?" You can start telling them, "Hey, I started drinking more water. I started chewing my food. I started avoiding liquids with meals." This is all in the manual, so you don't have to write this down. But, you know, and I got some products, and they started working.
It has to be a tidal wave. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, guys.
No, thank you. Thank you for taking the time.
No, thank you, Jeff.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tim James. Tim James, Chemical Free Body. No, absolutely. Tim James, Chemical Free Body, and thank you for your time, my friend. He's always going to be coming back, because we need updates. We need to be finding out how everybody's been moving and shaking as it relates to their health, because, you know, we only got one. So
we're trying to change America, brother.
I don't know about that. You know, like I said, one person at a time. All right. Peace and so much love. Thank you, Mr. Tim James. Thank you, Mr. Pat Miletich. Take care, everybody. Stay tuned. There will be more.